This is our presentation about Tichborne's Elegy by Charles Tichborne.
The poem was written by Charles when he was in the Tower of London, ready to be executed because he was part of a plot to assassinate Queen Elizabeth I, so Mary, Queen of Scots, would replace her. But the plot was foiled and Tichborne was arrested and trialled for treason.
The poem was written on September 19th, 1586, to his wife Agnes as part of his goodbye letter, and he died at the young age of 28. And this poem is a dark look at life cut short, and is remarkable for being written mostly by monosyllables, with the exception of the word fallen.
We've prepared a document on Fronter, and it's got useful links on it to help with revision, and yeah.
And there it is. We're now going to read out Tichborne's Elegy and show you a slideshow of what we thought the pictures represented each line.
My prime of youth is but a frost of cares. My feast of joy is but a dish of pain. My crop of corn is but a field of tares, and all my good is but a vein of hope. The days passed, and yet I saw no sun. And now I live, and now my life is done.
My tale was heard, and yet it was not told. My fruit is fallen, and yet my leaves are green. My youth is spent, and yet I am not old. I saw the world, and yet I was not seen. My thread is cut, and yet it was not spun. And now I live, and now my life is done.
I sought my death, and found it in my womb. I looked for life, and saw it was a shade. I trod the earth, and knew it was my tomb.
And now I die, and now I was but made. And my glass is full, and now my glass is run. And now I live, and now my life is done.
And these are the themes of the poem. Okay. The theme of the poem is that Tichborne believed that his life was not over, but he's soon to die, which he finds quite frustrating, and he thinks that nothing was worthwhile during his life because it was cut short. Okay, and line 3, my crop of corn is but a field of tares, sums up that the tares means weeds, which means his life was ruined. The first line of the third stanza says, I sought my death and found it in my womb, which is telling us that he believes he was doomed from before he was even born. The themes we think sum up this poem is he was too young to die.
The final stanza, the first line of the first stanza is identical to the last line of the second and third stanzas, emphasising that the fact that although the poem is alive when he was written, he knows that his life has virtually come to an end. And we think the poem is saying that he hasn't done all the things he planned to do in his life, and that line 5 sums this up as it says, the day is past and yet I saw no sun. And also line 3 says, my crop of corn is but a field of tares, which means that good things that he thought were good really are not that great and turned out to be weeds, which is what tares mean.
Okay. Focusing on the main theme of the poem, which is too young to die, we believe this sums up the whole poem, and we found some things that relate to this theme, which will remind you of what the theme is when it comes to revision.
One of the film was Too Young to Die, starring Brad Pitt, which relates to the poem, as the film is about a 15-year-old who is charged with murder and that carries the death penalty, which is very similar to the poem, as Tichborne is young and he's faced with the death penalty too. And also the song by Jamiroquai is called Too Young to Die, which focuses on the main theme of the poem. My first impression of the poem was that the Charles Tichborne was saying goodbye to his wife, and he's just writing down how sad he is to die. But while we were studying it, we found out that it had a deeper meaning, and that the poem was more that he's saying how his life was a disappointment, and that he didn't get a chance to really live it to the full, and to do everything he wanted to do, and which shows us how precious life is, and that we must take every chance we get.
I first thought of the poem, when I first read it, I thought it was quite dreary, and it was quite dark, but after researching it and reading it again and over, I thought it was quite beautiful in a way, because he could have written what he said in a letter form, but instead he wrote it in a poem, which brings out the meaning more, and it puts emphasis on what he felt and what he thought of his life and so on. Thank you for watching our presentation.
We hope you have learnt lots about the poem and help you to understand the poem more.
Is there any questions?
In the first bit, at the very beginning, who was she trying to assassinate?
What was that, sorry?
What queen was
Oh,
she trying
Queen
to
Elizabeth.
assassinate?
Oh, Queen Elizabeth I.
What date was it made on?
The 19th of September.
1586, I think.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Megan?
Do you have a favourite line from the poem?
I thought that the crop of tares, because at first you don't really realise what it means, but then when you like look into it and you research it, it shows how sad and upset he is about his life not turning out the way he wanted it, and it's been cut off short and it's not his fault, and he's upset about that.
I quite like Now I Live and Now My Life Is Done, because he hasn't exactly lived his life yet. He's still quite young and he hasn't really fulfilled what he wanted to do in life.
Do you think his tone is of regret then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He regrets plotting to blow up the Queen.
I think it's more like he regrets not doing other things, like more important things than that. So.
Brilliant.